Hey everybody, I'm Justin with AmericanMuscle.com and welcome to my detailed review of the Ford Performance Cobra Jet intake manifold fitting your 2011 through 2014 GT and Boss Mustang. So this review is going to cover my thoughts on the Cobra Jet intake manifold as an owner. We'll talk about some of the benefits you can expect when bolting everything up, and then finally we'll cover some of the meat and potatoes of the installation. And as you might imagine, there are a few steps involved when getting this bad boy in place, but nevertheless, it's still not that bad. So I'm going 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and we will have some more detail for you later on. Now, the Cobra Jet manifold that we have in this video is going to be a great choice for both Boss and GT owners out there looking to maximize their naturally aspirated performance or even your forced induction performance by using an extremely free-flowing manifold like this option here from Ford Performance. Now, this thing will effectively raise your peak power in the upper RPM range, but without taking a huge hit to your low-end torque like some other manifold options on the site. Prospective buyers will want to keep in mind the fact that you will need to change out your throttle body in addition to your intake, along with factoring in some custom tuning. The Cobra Jet manifold is obviously a product that's near and dear to my heart, as I have had this thing installed on my personal GT for a couple of years now, and I absolutely love it. I have no complaints whatsoever. Totally transformed the way the car behaved, and for the better. Now, I've always thought of this thing as the perfect complement to the full array of bolt-ons, of course, but even for owners out there who might want to maybe do long tubes but don't want to mess with the emissions or cats, or maybe are afraid of long tubes from an installation standpoint, this is a good alternative. It's going to cost you roughly the same amount, but at the same time the install is going to be a lot easier and will deliver similar gains. So let's talk about this manifold a little bit more. Now, this thing was developed for the 2013 Cobra Jet drag car, the naturally aspirated version, for maximum horsepower in the upper RPM range, right? Makes sense, that's where drag cars typically operate. Now, if you look at this thing at first, and if you're like me and thinking old school muscle car or dragster, you're thinking tunnel ram intake, right? Because it looks very similar. In fact, if we had a tunnel ram on the table, they'd look very identical. Long straight runners here, and they're both designed for similar goals, delivering that high horsepower in the upper RPM range. So what does that mean for you guys watching at home? Well, if you're looking to bolt this thing up to your Coyote powered GT or Boss 302 and lug around town between 2,000 RPM and 5,000 RPM expecting to feel a big difference, you're going to be pretty disappointed, because that's really not what this thing is all about. Instead, you have to wring this sucker out to the moon to really feel a difference. Ford Performance designed this thing to make peak power at 7,750 RPM, and the dynograph that I got from my car really reflects that. Now, the factory manifold tends to run out of breath right around 5,000 RPM, where this sucker just kept on climbing all the way to my 7,900 RPM rev limiter. So now that you know a little bit more about what the CJ manifold is all about, let's talk about some of the finer details with this thing. It's made from a lightweight composite material, features 635 cubic inches of volume, and has been pressure tested to support 20 plus pounds of boost. And that leads me to my next point. Well, I talked a lot about some of the naturally aspirated benefits when bolting this thing up. Well, there's a lot of guys out there running centrifugal blowers or turbo applications who have used this manifold as well with really, really good results. And also, I know maybe some of my 2015 plus owners might be trickling into this video, and if so, welcome. This thing will actually work for your car as well, however, with modification. You will need to lower the motor a little bit or get a cow hood to squeeze this taller manifold in. But getting back to my 11 to 14 GT and Boss owners here with this manifold, pretty much a direct bolt-on. However, you will need to factor in a couple additional parts. As you can see, the front of the intake manifold is no longer a circle like your factory throttle body is. Therefore, you're going to need to add an oval throttle body. There are a couple of options on the site to choose from, or you can even pick up a used GT500 throttle body. Should be good to go there. You're also going to need to factor in an aftermarket intake. Now, Ford Performance does make an intake for this thing, as well as JLT, both available on the site here as well. Now, if you did want to stick to the full-blown Ford Performance trio of parts, there is a complete kit known as their power-up kit for the Cobra Jet intake manifold. It's about $1,800, does include the manifold, the twin 65mm throttle body, in addition to the Ford Performance cold air. Now, the manifold itself here that we have in this video, right around $100, but again, you have to factor in some of those extras along with the custom tuning. All right, with all that aside, let's cover some of the big chunks of the install here. We're not gonna go through step by step and tell you what to do, because honestly that would take all day. Instead, I'm just gonna give you a better idea of what to expect when it's time to start wrenching. Again, this isn't the hardest job in the world. It's definitely not like a long tube install. Instead, it's pretty straightforward. However, if you've never turned a wrench or two on your Mustang, don't know if I'd start with this one. Instead, you might want to leave it up to your local shop. Either way, let's call it 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. Few hours to a half a day in the shop or garage is really all you're looking at here. As you might imagine, you are going to need a pretty solid set of tools here to knock this one out as well, guys. An assortment of sockets, extensions, wrenches, screwdrivers, pliers, a repinning tool as well to get a new throttle body installed onto this thing. Again, a wide variety of stuff. What I can encourage you to do, check out the detailed install instructions on the product page here at AM First. Again, it's just going to give you a much better idea of what you're working with. It includes helpful things like pictures, we all love pictures, in addition to your torque specifications. First things first, disconnect the battery and go ahead and remove the factory or aftermarket cold air intake along with the intake manifold. Now just be aware, guys, in this step you are going to be disconnecting the fuel lines from the fuel rails. Just have a rag or something on hand to capture any extra fuel that might drip from those rails. Now once everything is free and clear, the stock intake manifold is removed, everything is ready to rock and roll. Prep the new manifold here for installation. This includes transferring over the fuel injectors and rails, prepping the evap, things like that. And I would say grab a buddy. It certainly helped me lower this thing into place correctly, and it should help you as well. Now once the manifold is in place, go ahead and torque everything down to spec. Really important to point out, guys, grab a torque wrench that will read in inch pounds, not foot pounds. Please don't make that mistake, as you will no doubt end up cracking the manifold itself. Now once this is installed, you can go ahead and get to work installing the throttle body, repinning the sensor, installing that new cold air intake. Of course, upload the corresponding tune, fire it up, just double check for leaks, and you should be good to go. Now obviously this was a super condensed version of the installation process, but I tell you guys, this isn't the hardest job in the world as long as you take your time and follow those instructions. As someone who actually has this manifold installed on their own GT, I can tell you that it's a great way to maximize, again, your all-motor or naturally aspirated performance while still maintaining great drivability. Now, a lot of it comes down to the extras that you do have to purchase, including the throttle body, intake, and that tune. But if you're willing to pay the price for a solid modification like this, the install is relatively easy and you're certainly going to enjoy the benefits. So that is my review of the Cobra Jet intake manifold from Ford Performance, which you can find right here at AmericanMuscle.com.